Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the invisible biological forces that actually dictate our appetite. We're going to map out exactly what happens to our bodies on a chemical and cellular level when we change up our diet. You know, if you've ever felt like your own body is just totally fighting against your health goals, trust me, you are not alone. So let's uncover exactly why that happens.
Let's kick things off with a question that, let's be honest, anyone who has ever tried to change their eating habits has asked. Why is it just so biologically difficult to stick to a diet? Like, why does it constantly feel like this massive, frustrating, uphill battle against our own willpower? To answer that, we'll quickly look at the basics of metabolism, meet your hunger hormones, and explore the brain-belly connection. Then we'll walk through a 30-day diet timeline, see what happens when hormones go rogue, and wrap it all up with some tips for lasting success. All right, Section 1, the basics of metabolism.
Now, the absolute crucial point to remember here is that metabolism isn't just some internal dial that dictates how fast you burn calories. It's actually the comprehensive set of chemical reactions that literally sustain your life. It's converting food into energy, building cellular structures, and managing waste. So when you diet, you aren't just eating less. You're rewriting the chemical instructions for this massive, life-sustaining engine.
Moving right along to Section 2. Meet the hunger hormones.
Okay, so inside your body right now, there's this fierce chemical tug-of-war going on. Think of these two hormones as the accelerator and the brake. First up, we've got ghrelin. This is a 28 amino acid peptide that mostly originates right in your stomach. It is the ultimate accelerator. It's that classic hunger hormone that surges right before meals, practically demanding that you eat. On the flip side, we have leptin. This is a larger 167 amino acid peptide coming from your adipose tissue or your fat cells. Leptin is the brake. It's what signals your brain that you've got enough energy stored up and that, hey, you're full.
Which brings us to Section 3, the brain-belly connection.
What's really fascinating here is how these hormones target completely different regions of your brain's hypothalamus. It's almost like a dysfunctional long-distance relationship. Ghrelin travels up to the lateral hypothalamus to trigger that gnawing sensation of hunger. But leptin crosses the blood-brain barrier to do something pretty amazing. It stimulates POMC neurons to explicitly tell you to stop eating, all while actively suppressing the exact neurons that are trying to make you hungry. It is an incredibly sophisticated communication system right between your belly, your fat stores, and your brain.
Now for Section 4, the 30-day diet timeline. This 30-day roadmap is straight from the source material over at Lose It, and it shows exactly when you'll start seeing the biological payoff of your healthy choices. And honestly, the best part? It kicks in almost immediately, way before you'd ever see the scale move.
Let's just break down week 1 for a second. Even if your weight hasn't budged a single ounce, within just 1 to 2 days of cutting back on simple sugars, your blood sugar drops. That immediately lowers your risk for diabetes. It really is that fast. Then by day 7, you're going to notice a lot less bloating. You'll physically feel lighter. Plus, if you've been cutting out simple carbs and alcohol, your triglycerides, which are a type of fat in your blood linked to heart health, will drop noticeably. Your body is already doing the work, healing from the inside out.
As a quick milestone marker for that first week, just keeping the math simple is highly effective. If you slash just 500 calories a day, that creates a 3,500 calorie deficit over the week, and that equals about 1 pound of healthy, sustainable weight loss. This kind of slow and steady approach is great because it actually gives your ghrelin and leptin levels the time they need to adapt without throwing your whole body into a starvation panic.
Now, as we move into weeks 2 and 4, your hormones and metabolism really start adjusting to this new normal. Around day 14, you'll see real body composition changes. You know, your favorite jeans might just fit a little better. Also, your blood pressure responds really positively, especially if you've cut down on sodium. Then, by day 30, a huge shift happens. Your new eating routine actually starts to feel natural because your leptin and ghrelin cues are finally stabilizing. You'll likely experience a noticeable boost in mental clarity, way more energy, and lower acute inflammation. You're basically running on a totally upgraded metabolic engine at this point.
Section 5. When hormones go rogue. The really crucial takeaway here is that conditions like obesity and eating disorders are absolutely not just about some lack of willpower. They're deeply tied to literal neurohormonal pathways and physical resistance. It's pure biological reality. For example, individuals dealing with anorexia or bulimia often have elevated fasting ghrelin levels. Or take Prader-Willi syndrome, which is a genetic condition causing extreme hunger. That's linked directly to ghrelin deficits. Even mood disorders tie into this whole system, since ghrelin directly impacts the reward and motivation pathways in your brain.
Let's look at leptin resistance for a second. In a perfectly healthy system, more fat equals more leptin, and that tells the brain to stop eating. Simple, right? But in obesity, it's like a giant brick wall goes up. The body has super high levels of leptin, and it's practically screaming that it's full. But the message is completely blocked before it ever reaches the hypothalamus. So the brain literally thinks the body is starving. That drives ghrelin way up, making dieting feel biologically impossible.
Finally, Section 6, Tips for Lasting Success.
So to support your metabolism and actually keep your ghrelin and leptin balanced, experts lay out 4 concrete steps. First, focus on moderation and healthy swaps rather than absolute harsh deprivation. Deprivation just triggers those massive ghrelin spikes. Second, keep track of your accountability with a food journal, but focus on the weekly trends rather than stressing over daily scale fluctuations. Third, seek some expert guidance from a dietitian to make sure your strategy fits your specific metabolic needs. And fourth, look at your overall lifestyle. Managing stress is huge, but getting enough sleep is literally absolutely critical. Why? Well, because sleep deprivation directly spikes your hunger hormone, ghrelin, and crashes your satiety hormone, leptin. Sleep is essentially your body's metabolic reset button.
Ultimately, understanding your own biology isn't just about weight loss, it's the first real step to mastering it. Your body is a beautifully complex machine. So now that you actually know the invisible hormonal forces guiding your appetite, how will you use this science to master your own mind-body connection? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this knowledge empowers your journey ahead.